Awesome. So welcome. Do pop your name in the chat. Let me know where you're calling in from. And today we're going to talk about um, how to grow gracefully. So we're going to talk about these same qualities again that we've been discussing all week, but this time, how does growing reduce your stress? Because these are the areas, if you remember at the start of the week, were the things that were causing you stress: relationships, fitness, feeling that you're in constant struggle, lack of priorities, global chaos. And then we talked in the last couple of days about how negativity and that kind of stressful approach actually makes these things all worse, makes you unattractive, makes you unavailable, takes up your time, makes you unfit, and reduces your impact in the world. So how does growing do the opposite to that? Well, relationship wise, if you grow and you become the person you're meant to be, that you stick to your purpose, you feel more confidence, self-worth boosts, and then that is very attractive to everybody. So if you think about the kind of people you want in relationships, it's those people who are warm and comfortable in their own skin, not, as we were saying yesterday, the kind of needy, defensive, anxious people. And if you think about fitness, just as it's true physically, fitness-wise, that the more weights you lift, the stronger you get, the same is true mentally. The more struggles you overcome, the stronger you become mentally, the more resilient you become. It also creates great trust in relationships as well, interestingly. Instead of that constant struggle feeling, you're going to have consistent habits that support you and keep you getting better. Because this is the other thing that happens once we get into our comfort zone, we fall back into all our old habits again. So if you can get consistent new habits, it will support you to keep getting better and better. Instead of your sort of lack of priorities or competing priorities, you suddenly get this calm purposefulness of your big yes. Do you remember we were saying the big yes will trump anything else and get you out of stress and make you act, but you don't want that kind of life or death feeling of the big yes. You'd rather have your big yes coming from inside you somewhere. So we'll do a little bit more exploring on that today. But if you want to revisit yesterday, that was when we looked at your powerful purpose and how do you find that. And last of all, when you're doing all these things, now you can have a much more positive impact. You're creating positive ripples in all your relationships, as well as because of your calm, purposeful state of mind, you're making impact on those things that matter to you, whether that's the planet and people or your dog and your kids or your house or whatever it is. So today is all about this graceful growth. How do we do graceful growth? So the first thing to understand is that stories run your life. They always have done, they always will, but the good news is you can change them. And how stories work is something happens, either in real life or you imagine something happens, and then you get a bunch of emotions. And these are caused, these are chemicals being triggered in the brain, right? So I imagine that somebody's ignored me and I feel upset. I feel as upset as if they really had ignored me. In fact, my brain doesn't really tell the difference. And it instantly creates a story. This is the first and probably last chance you've got to get into this and stop the story running. So you're usually the hero or the victim, depending on your mindset. I might think, oh, somebody ignored me because if I'm in hero mode, they're intimidated by me because I'm doing so well. Or if I'm in victim mode, they don't like me, I've done something to offend them, or they think I'm weak or ugly or whatever. Notice the story is usually complete rubbish. The reason somebody would have ignored you, if they did ignore you, was probably because they had a lot on their mind and they weren't even thinking about you. They didn't even see you. But once you've created this story, your brain looks for beliefs and then you create social proof. So yes, it's true that I'm ugly and weak, and other people have said this before. And if I look for all the times in my history, remember your Google mind from yesterday, it will pull back all the times where you felt weak or ugly. That's not helpful. That is not a question we want to ask our Google mind. Or just as bad, to be honest, is saying, yes, why am I better than everybody else? And then your brain brings back all the reasons why you're superior to everybody else, and that's why people ignore you, which again is a really unhelpful story. You then start to radiate this energy. So you get more of this. So remember the buffet table we've talked about all week long, you know, wherever you put your attention, your energy goes there. I think somebody once coined the phrase, energy flows where attention goes, which I think is very true. So as soon as I start believing that people just ignore me because either I'm this fabulous thing that everybody's intimidated by, or I'm this weak, ugly person that nobody likes, then I start expecting people to ignore me. So I stop making eye contact, and I walk around in this bubble of my own, and people do start ignoring me because it's not engaging, right? So whatever this imagined or real experience is, you'll make it true. This is how a self-fulfilling prophecy happens. So, and this is why stories run your life, unfortunately. So what you want to do is notice the moment you start making up a story. In fact, if you can notice when you start feeling a strong emotion, that would really help, but it's difficult to do without a lot of practice. I've been doing this for years and I can get it most of the time, but not all the time. So think about what it is you're trying to do, what you're trying to change, and what story you're telling yourself about this. So if you go back to your purpose from yesterday, who are you becoming? If you remember my school story of how I went to school and decided to be the popular girl. So I was telling myself the story that I was the popular girl from school, even though I wasn't. So you can start to see how powerful this becomes. Your brain will look for the words to say, the tone of voice, everything that matches the story you're telling. So you really don't want to start telling yourself bad stories. So, and remember, be, do, get from yesterday. That's kind of like a shorthand version of why this works so well. So that's all well and good, but Liz, don't make me get rejected. I can't bear it. What if I decided I was going to be the popular person and then nobody talks to me? That won't happen. Everybody is way more like you than you imagine. And there's a great book written by this guy called Jia Zhang. He wrote a book called Rejection Proof, which is on your screen now. He also did a great TEDx talk on it as well, so go look that up. And these are the three main learnings that I took out of the book. So this isn't his words or texts or images. This is my kind of summary of what I took away from it. So the first thing is be curious. So understand what their why is. Why did they say no? Try and learn something here, which leads on to the second step of don't run away, which is what everybody wants to do. So understand, oh, why did you say no to that? So there's a story once where he goes, his very first story is trying to get people to say no to him on purpose every day, because he's seen that online that this is a way to build resilience, and he wants to build resilience so he can become a businessman. So he goes and asks the security guard in the building he works in, will he lend him $100? And the security guard says no. And he says, look at my face. He's recording all of this as he's going. And he's running out of the building looking terrified. And the security guard behind him is shouting, why? He wants to know why. He tries to go and plant some flowers in somebody's garden. And the guy says no. And by this point, he started to learn some of these lessons. So he says, what, why? Can I ask you why? And he says, yeah, I'm a horrible gardener. It would die. Why don't you take it over to Laura across the road? She'll plant it in her garden. She's a great gardener. So he takes it over there. She makes him tea and coffee and biscuits, and they have a lovely time, and they plant the flower in her garden. So this being curious, we talked about it yesterday, is one of those amazing mindset hacks. It is amazing. So stay curious as to why. Because, and this is the don't run bit, it's just your brain emotionally hijacking you when you hear a no. It's just their view at the moment, right now, about the thing they're asking you about. You're asking them about. It's not personal. So it's just that he doesn't want that flower in his garden right now. Like if he became a better gardener, he might say yes. Or he's got somebody else to suggest who could have the flower in their garden. So try and stay in the moment and feel that discomfort. And this is the key thing to growth. We'll talk about it in the summary slide at the end. You want to be able to get used to feeling discomfort without running away, without panicking and stopping the experience. Because everything you want is on the other side of that discomfort. This is why this is such a useful skill to have. So you've got to be able to push yourself to do that thing that you're not really very sure about, because once you've done it, you'll feel so much better. You'll feel that confidence. So you don't get to feel confident first. It doesn't work that way, sadly. Lots of my clients wish it did. I wish it did, but it doesn't work that way. You have to act first, and then you get the confidence. So all you can hope to have at the start is a belief that you're capable. And if you do the work from yesterday with the soul multivitamins, you'll start to feel that capability. You want to feel capable, not just think, oh, yes, I'm capable, and not feel it at all, not believe it. You want to feel capable. So do that soul multivitamins exercise. Now go and ask for what you want and hang in there if they say no. Feel the discomfort and think it's okay, I'm not going to die. Because actually that's the conclusion Zhang comes to, is that rejection makes us feel like we're going to die. Because if we were rejected from our communities back in the early days, we would have died. We would have been murdered or eaten or raped or whatever and left for dead. So there's that feeling that if we're rejected, we die is kind of hardwired into us. So we have to really think consciously to overcome that. And the last one here is pivot. So you didn't get what you wanted, but what would it take to get that? Does it mean somebody else needs to plant the flower in their garden? Does it mean he needs gardening lessons from me before he'll plant the garden in this garden? Be curious, what would it take? And do you remember I was talking about those brilliant questions to ask? What would it take is one of those. Who would say yes? If not this person, then who? And what do I do now? These are great questions to ask yourself if you're coming out of a rejection, to stop you lingering there and stop you telling the sad, sad story of how you're a failure, because that's what your brain wants to naturally do. Oh dear, it didn't work again. Maybe this isn't for you. Maybe I should just give up and crawl back into my hole. No, don't do that. Ask yourself, well, what would it take for me to do this? Who would say yes to me right now? What shall I do now? Ask those questions of yourself. Go online, ask ChatGPT, ask Google. You'll find some really interesting answers out there if you pivot at this point and not fall in the hole. Okay, so what can you do? So these are just 15-minute sessions, as I promised, so quick fire stuff to do. So first thing to do, notice the stories you're telling. People tell me, Liz, I don't do stories, I'm a data person. Yeah, I get it. But if you see all the numbers showing that the profit is increasing, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything on its own. You add the meaning. You either say, oh, that company's underpaying its workers, it's terrible, or that company has really cut back wastage, it's a great example of lean, or that company has really been selling loads lately, so its prices are going up, or it's sold more volume of stuff. There's all sorts of meanings to profit going up. And you can see, unless you tell a story about it, it has no meaning. So we tell stories all the time, otherwise we would be meaningless. So it's really, really important. Notice the stories you're telling to yourself and to your team. Also, be curious in rejection. Ask yourself, what would it take to do that pivot step? Do finish this week and carry on to day 5 tomorrow, which is all the Q&A about how do I get this done? And last of all, there's always a buffet table focus. So this today is to keep your focus on the new story. So don't let yourself get distracted. Remember the blue cheese on the table making everybody sick? Don't get distracted by the poor me story. Move away from that. Remember your purpose. Remember what you do want and focus on that and watch how everything changes. Any questions? Stick them in the chat.
No questions. It's just this session is really relevant today after the last 2 days that I've had. So went and did a training course, and it's not a training course of my current level, it's the next step. And I think going into that, I went straight back to, oh my gosh, I don't belong here. Oh my gosh, they're not listening to me. Oh my gosh, I can't add value. And there was going to notice your stories. So for example, working in a group kind of situation, trying to add in what I wanted to say. And whether it was intended or not, I was like, yeah, but, and my point wasn't listened to, and then they moved on. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're not listening to me. Why aren't they listening to me? He was probably just really stressed and wanted to get other bits of information. Anyway, rather than kind of dwelling on it, I think like I would have done, and then being in a slump for the rest of the day, because this was in the morning, there were other activities in the afternoon, and I just felt myself, right, pick myself up, I can go into the next conversation and I can deliver something. And actually, at the end of it, I came out of it, I thought, I performed really well in that way, just give myself a pat on the back. And yeah, it's just kind of noticing from the previous habits that I would have got into. Yes, there was probably a slight kind of leaning towards going back into it, but noticing it and then pulling away and just carrying on. So yeah, very relevant.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's so relevant. And it's that trick of noticing what you're doing and noticing what the other meaning is. So what else can this mean? And you're able to think on your feet that yes, it could just be they're having a bad day. Somebody once said to me, whether people compliment you or insult you is far more to do with their state of mind and what they think about themselves than it is to what they think about you, which is very true. So, the people who are feeling open generally have lots more interesting conversations, sadly, than the ones who are wound up in their story of stress. And another great example as well of how stress can lead you to miss things. So, he's missed wherever that conversation could have gone. Nice. Nice. Anything else in the chat? No? Okay. So I'm going to wrap it up there so that I stick to my 15 minutes and have a very excellent week. And I'll see you tomorrow on number 5. Thank you all very much.